We're joining Frank Dumas, Director at St. George Eco Mining. But today we are going to discuss St. George Eco Mining subsidiary, Iceland Resources. Frank, would you please start us off with an introduction?
So Iceland Resources, an asset that we acquire in our pursuit of the geothermal energy producer. It's anecdotal, but I was going to Iceland in the early 2000s, and as every dumb tourist, I went to the Blue Lagoon, which is a geothermal bath, and while everybody was putting that mud on their face and their body, I asked the people there, what's the source? Where do you take that mud? And they point out to the top of the hill where there was the energy producer. They said, that's the effluent. So I said, okay, do you know what's in it? They said, we don't, but it's very good for the skin. Well, I can tell you that high-grade silver, high-grade lead tend to be good for the skin. Maybe not long-term, but short-term. So that's kind of funny. And they agreed to let me take some small samples. We got them tested and we got impressed. So for at least 10 years, we pursued the Icelandic government to authorize us to do research with that material, to see if there was a way to produce it in situ, directly coming out of the well, and not having to blast anything, to use explosive, or to move the material, move the ground, just produce the effluent. And it brought us to, we enter into a relationship with the Icelandic government. And they proposed to us to acquire a company that was there that at that time was the only mineral explorer in the country, and had all the active explorer license and data acquisition license in Iceland. So we've done that in 2016 and then acquired the portion of the government. So we acquired a private portion and then acquired a portion of I would say the para-public portion of the entity a few years later. So now we own 100% of that subsidiary. That subsidiary has an amount of data acquisition or scientific data acquisition license, which amount to exploration license. And we also have a production authorization with private entities on a project called Elbow Creek, which is in the northern part of the country.
In addition to Elbow Creek and that very interesting and unusual sounding project to produce valuable elements from geothermal effluent, I do understand you have a more traditional gold exploration project on the books in Iceland.
The main project is the Thor project. It's Thor, but we shorten every project's name in St. George. So we call it Thor, Thor. This is a high-grade gold with a little bit of silver, a little bit of copper in it. That has two types of systems. So there's an epithermal system at the top, and then we're getting into a magmatic system. It's on the eastern part of the island. So you're not in the very active, very young volcanic portion of the country. You're in a part of the country that they inherit from Greenland and North America, where the two continent tectonic plate connects and meet up. And it's interesting because on one of our project, or one of our license, the Reykjanes license, there's actually the fracture that you can see and people go and visit, which is a few meters large, and you can see the separation between the North American tectonic plate and the European plate. And that's a part of, we had a lot of people coming to Iceland and visit us, and someone has mentioned that it's kind of, it's paradise for geologists, as there's so many things happening in that country in so many different settings. But the Thor project, we've been meeting for the last 2 years with different partners to try to strike a deal. And every time we thought were not interesting for our shareholders. It was too low or too long. It was not generating or monetizing the project fast enough. So now we're back on track to develop it ourselves and come up with a resource estimate for this one, and probably look at a plan to process the few 100,000 ounces that we might have on that project accessible from surface and from adits. It's an historical project. It had produced gold in the past before the Second World War. So a German company was there. They got kicked out during the Second World War. And as the government kind of took a hold of a lot of the license there, The project was dormant for years, but it's a fantastic project. It's like there's electric lines, transport lines on the project. This is a project that you can take a bicycle from the, Reykjavik, and within an hour you're going to be on the project, and it's accessible. We have the authorization of the surface rights. We own obviously the mineral rights. We're going to go back at it. We renewed the license recently. We're going to go back at it and drill this one furthermore in 2026. And the goal at that point is to not come up with a 4201, a technical one, but actually come up with a resource estimate. And then maybe look at partners from some major producer or tier two producers.
Let's speak a little more about what else is going on under the umbrella of Iceland Resources.
We also inherit 15% ownership into an hydroelectric dam project that's advancing fast now. We'll have some news on that probably at the end of the first quarter, calendar quarter, or of so after March. There is some movement on that side. There's potentially a early monetization, opportunity for us on that project, and if we're lucky, this might be a significant part of our current market capitalization. So that's interesting because that's coming from something nobody's expecting, and it's advancing at a speed that suddenly was not the speed it was advancing over the last decade. Now, the other things that we're doing in Iceland is the metallurgy, like we said, and there's many producers, energy producer in Iceland that are doing geothermal production, and we've been lucky to interest them all. We're not in agreement with all of them yet, but there's nobody else trying to recruit them to that program. And we think that early next year, with the announcement of the terms on the one that we're moving forward with, we'll be able to convince the other one to come and join that initiative.
Frank, Iceland Resources sounds like such an interesting company, and it's only one of your many subsidiaries at St. George Eco Mining, so we're very much looking forward to hearing about all the rest.